teaching you online, there is a difference. There is definitely a difference. All right. And when we talk about teaching in person, things are entirely different. Then we can talk, we can look at each other, talk, etc., etc., etc. Yeah, it's like I don't even see you people at all. 99% I don't even see anybody.
Right, sir. And I think the other things that we also mentioned to other instructors is the teaching phase. That's what we ask to slow down the pace because some of us might be a little bit slow in catching up the lesson.
Okay. Okay, fine.
So as well in the class and in addition in this online lesson, so that's why it cannot be too fast. And I think it's going to be a lot of repetition to get a better understanding.
So only thing is what I don't know. What I feel is even after 30th or 28th of April, whatever dates they have given, as far as the educational institutes are concerned, they I don't think they'll be opening them very fast. And I think MFA falls into the category of educational institute, because what happens is we are sitting too close to each other in the classrooms, and if you see about the flying training, the pilot and the instructor and the pilot also, duty pilot sits very close to each other. This is what we want to avoid actually. I don't know. I mean, I'm not very sure on that. Let's see.
Yes.
Even if they open up, if the MCO is open and we are permitted to go around, I have a feeling that the educational establishments may not start functioning straight away. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know that part.
Right, sir.
It's just a guesswork. It's just a teaching actually. What we were discussing among ourselves, sitting here.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
So I mean, as you said, so most of the learning institution already stated that they're gonna start again, like say the semester or the learning session right away after the Eid celebration or the Raya celebration, likely after June, early June. So I don't know if MFA gonna do the same thing or is the after the MCO is going to be the same regulation from the government. So
I have no idea unless we see, because once we come back, well, number one, we will have to look at the attendances first, because all said and done, we have to complete the syllabus before you appear for the examinations.
Right, sir.
So that is one most relevant and the legally important aspect is we have to complete the syllabus. That's why I want to go slightly faster as far as this is concerned, because once you come back, we will just have a couple of days of revision and we can appear in the examination. But anyway, let's forget that for the time being. Just let's have the normal classes and what we see and whatever gains we can have from these classes. I agree 100% that they cannot be possibly be similar to the classes what we have in person. Online classes cannot possibly be similar. Okay. I got very long hair. There's no barber. I can't have my hair cut now.
Yes, I think most of us
Yeah, every one of us.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got very long hair now.
But barbers are allowed to open, sir.
No, I don't think so. I mean, in our area, there's no barber at all, because these are the people who are going to spread the things very fast because they are using the same razor, brush, etc., etc., etc. I don't know.
Yes, sir.
In our area, we don't have any barber open.
Because the government actually allows certain sectors of the industry to open, and actually barbers are one of them.
Is
but
it?
Yes, there's.
I
Yes.
haven't know. I didn't know. I'll have a look at the because I think barbers most dangerous here.
Yes, sir. So there's a mixed opinion. So people were actually debating that barbers are actually a source of spread for this virus as well.
Naturally, because see, they are using the common razors, they're using the common brushes, so everybody can't pause. Anyway, let's forget that. Let's keep long hair. So what? So what?
Sir, you handsome, sir, with long hair. You look damn good, sir.
Okay. Okay, let's come back to now. Today we discuss the satellite navigation system. Can we have it on the screen, please?
Or you like to try to share from your screen?
No, I would like you to do it for me today,
Okay.
please.
Okay, sure, no problem.
Satellite navigation system. I think in my book is chapter number 19.
This one?
Yep, yep. Slightly larger font, please.
Okay, I'm giving you control if you can.
Yeah, okay. Now I'll try and move it up and down. Okay. Right? Is it okay now?
Yes, sir.
I'm moving it up. Okay. Now this satellite navigation system, as the name suggests, is obviously with the we navigate with the help of satellites. Now these satellites are normally man-made, and we are the people who throw these satellites into the atmosphere in the air, and thereafter we utilize them for various purposes. So as far as the satellite navigation systems is concerned, we at the moment, or we started with, I'll say, we started with two countries taking part. One is the America, which is called the GPS Global Positioning System, and the Russian system, which is called the GLONASS. These are the people, the two countries, which threw their satellites, and they agreed that they can be also utilized for what we term as normal routine navigation purpose, right? So these two countries, initially they threw the satellites, but with the condition that as and when there is a necessary or there is a requirement, they will withdraw these satellites for any of their own private needs in the defense, etc., if they want. So these satellites, one part of the American GPS is being controlled by what we term as Department of Defense of the United States, and GLONASS, of course, is a combination of all these so-called Commonwealth of independent states, etc., etc. They combine together, which was previously called Russia. Today we call it Commonwealth countries. And these two countries, only they have stated that we will provide these satellites for navigation purposes, but with the condition that as and when we feel there is a requirement, we will withdraw these so-called satellites. That's why, though it is said that these so-called satellite navigation system has got the capabilities of superseding all the other navigation systems which are available today. But we aren't agreeing to that philosophy, because we know that countries like America or Russia can withdraw these satellites anytime they so desire. If they withdraw, then we are obviously we'll be in trouble. We have no navigation system available. So ground-based navigation systems, whatever we are studying at the moment, will continue for a very long time. And thereafter, we'll see whether we are able to. Now, this, of course, the principle of the so-called, now, number one, in this case, the transmitter is called the satellites are the transmitters, and the aircraft are the receivers of the radio energy. The radio energy is transmitted from the satellites, and the receiver, that means the aircraft, happens to be received. Now, obviously, it's based on the principle of speed of electromagnetic wave known in known time. Now, you know the time difference between the transmission, you have to, or the system has to calculate the time difference between the transmission and the reception. And as such, we get what we term as the range position lines. The satellites are so arranged in their orbit when they go around the globe. They are so arranged that minimum 4 satellites should be available for any observer to have, say, 4 position, 4 what we term as the range position lines, and the intersection of these range position lines happens to be the position of the aircraft. So if at any given time we have 4 satellites in view, we can create a position which is called three-dimensional position with the help of 4 satellites. Now, what do you mean by 3-dimension positioning? When you say 3D position, if you have 4 satellites in view, your aircraft will measure the range from all the 4 satellites, different satellites now, and draw the so-called position line. And the intersection of these position lines will give you the position of the aircraft. This position, if you have 4 satellites in view, if you have 4 position lines, then it is called 3-dimensional position of the aircraft. Now, what do you mean by 3-dimensional position of the aircraft?
So isn't it we can get the horizontal, vertical, and the other dimension plane?
That is lat and long, latitude and longitude.
Okay.
And the height, the dimension is the height, that is vertical is the height of the aircraft, and with the timing action. What time? What position? This is called a 3D position, where you got lat and long, the vertical positioning, that means the height of the aircraft, and number 3 is the timing of the aircraft. What particular time you can have? You can have a 2D position also, provided the height information is being obtained by some other means. That means in case you have only, instead of 4 satellites are not in view, you have only 3 satellites in view, you can have what we term as 2D fixing of the position, provided the height information is provided by any other means. Okay? Now this is, if you see the diagram, you have a aircraft, right? Aircraft, and you have the satellites. There are 4 different satellites, and each satellite, the aircraft is capable of measuring the time difference between the travel from the radio waves are transmitted from the satellite. They come to the receiver. The time difference is noted. Time difference between the transmission and reception. As such, the aircraft can measure the range position line from a particular satellite. You draw position lines from minimum 4 satellites, and the intersection of these 4 position lines happens to be the position of the aircraft, which is called 3-dimension. And we just discussed. And you can also have, in case for any particular reasons, the arrangement is such that you cannot possibly have 4 satellites. You can utilize 3 satellites for positioning of the aircraft, provided you will get the 2D position, but only thing is, in this case, height information has to be provided to the aircraft by any other means. Right? Now, in this particular case, what we discussed is the most important aspect, because satellites are extremely far from the aircraft. As such, even a minute difference in the timing, even millisecond, will create a difference of large number of nautical miles as far as the positioning of the aircraft is concerned. To see that the timings are measured most accurately at the satellite itself, in the satellite, you have minimum 4 atomic clocks. to see that the time and these so-called clocks which are fitted are being regularly synchronized by the, you have ground stations, you can sort of synchronize these. And at the aircraft, you have something known as electronic or the crystal oscillators or electronic clocks. Both the clocks are regularly synchronized so that there is no time difference between the transmission and the reception, so that as far as possible, large distance, the distances are to be measured. As such, even minute difference in the timing can create inaccuracy of many, many nautical miles. To see that, as such, we have something known as atomic clocks, 4 of them, and electronic clocks at the aircraft. This is basically to see that the time difference, of course, is now the principle, as I mentioned, is very similar to what we use in case of the DME. Only thing is, in case of the DME, it is a two-way distance from the interrogator to the ground transponder and back there. But in case of the satellite navigation system or GPS, what we do is we measure the time difference between the transmission from the satellite to the aircraft. That means only one-way travel. In case of the DME, it was two-way travel. Now it is one-way travel, right? Now, before we go further as far as the satellite navigation system is concerned, when we started with the satellite navigation system, we had only these two countries' satellites available. That is, but Russia also had its own sort of security issues. As such, all the time the satellites were not available for normal public or commercial use. As such, this number of satellites available they were only able to fix the position of the aircraft. With the number of satellites we had available, only fixing of the position. If anything went wrong, if the position was inaccurate, we had no way of judging that or knowing that there's an inaccuracy in the whole system. That is because of the number of satellites available were very, very limited. With these limited number of satellites, it was not possible, earlier on I'm talking about, so when we initially started for a couple of years, during the initial phase of the satellite navigation systems, there was no way of finding out if the accuracy or the reliability of the system is good. For that, we required more satellites. As such, in gradually, large number of European countries started throwing in their satellites also. Something known as local area navigation system, wide area navigation system. So these number of satellites which are available now, we have got the capacity or the capabilities to find out if the system itself is wrong. If the satellite navigation system is giving you incorrect information, we can correct for it with the help of all the other satellites which are made available now, which we'll discuss slightly later. For the time being, we are discussing the GPS and the GLONASS. And these so-called additional satellites came into the air, came into the usage much, much later. So initially, when we started out with the GPS, we had problems because there was no way of you finding out, as a user, finding out that your system is not working properly or you have something known as incorrect information. Now, large number of countries have flown in on their satellites. As such, these satellites are capable of correcting, of finding improving the integrity of the whole system. As such, you can, if the system is giving you incorrect information, there is a way of correcting that information and providing the correct information to the aircraft. We'll discuss these slightly later in detail, how the system works. Now, when we talk about the so-called satellites, if you they have got a particular pattern. When you throw the satellite into the air, into the atmosphere, it has got a pattern, it has got a particular system. And or it follows what we say, a particular law. There are plenty of laws, but three of the laws are very relevant to us to understand how the satellites operate. Once you throw the satellite into the air, it follows. If you see the pattern, it's rotating now. You have got here. This is the first law. The satellite orbits describe the eclipse with the Earth in one of the four sides. That means the pattern in which the satellite is operating is almost like an egg. It's an egg-shaped thing. It's not a circular pattern. It's an egg-shaped pattern. This is, and in the corner happens to be the Earth. This is the first law of the so-called, when we talk about satellite operations, if we mathematically, you have to calculate where the satellite is. So the pattern followed is this. It's not a circular thing. Number two, the satellite sweeps equal area in equal time. Now, what is the meaning of this? Sweeps equal area in equal time. There's a picture drawn on the screen. You can see, have a look at this. What does it mean actually?
So does it mean the coverage of the satellite at that particular time?
I beg your pardon?
Does it mean the coverage of the satellite at that particular time?
No, it means that the speed of the satellite does not remain the same. The speed of the satellite keeps varying with wherever it is located. If it is located at position A, the satellite speed will be much faster. If it is located at C, the speed of the satellite will be much slower. The speed sweeps equal area in equal time. If if it is far away, obviously the area required is the time distance travel will be very less, right? Here, so the speed varies with the here the distance from the Earth. If it is at C position, it will be very slow. It will be, if it is position alpha, it will be very fast. These are the main reasons. And the third law, it's too mathematical. We won't go into the details of the third law. But what we should know is what we use the word ephemeris. Ephemeris is the path followed by the satellite in the space. Again, the path followed by the satellite in space is called the ephemeris. And by application of these three so-called laws, we can find the position of the satellite at any given time. By application of these three particular laws, we can find out where is a particular satellite at a particular time. As I mentioned slightly earlier, the orbiting is so arranged that at any given time, because there certain satellites will go behind the globe, certain satellites will be in front of you, etc. As far as you are the observer, you are the person who is flying the aircraft, you are at a particular location. So the arrangement is such that minimum 4 satellites should be in view. Now, what do you understand by in view? In view means that if the satellite is 7.5 degrees above the horizon, that satellite is considered to be in view. I repeat, when you say minimum 4 satellites should be there, it's the orbit is so arranged that you have minimum 4 satellites at any given time for any observer. In view means the satellite should be 7.5 degrees above the horizon. As such, if it is above the horizon, then obviously it is satellite in view. Now here, this is one thing what you have to actually do a bit of mugging up now. As far as the constellations are concerned, there are two constellations. One is called the GPS and the other is called the GLONASS. One is the American one, the other is the Russian one, right? Now, this particular so-called, we talk about GPS, it has got 21 active satellites with 3 standbys. That means the total number of satellites available are 24. Inclined at the angle of 55 degrees to the equator. 55 degrees to the equator in what we term is in 6 orbits. I repeat, there are total number of satellites 24, 21 main and 3 standbys, total inclined at the angle of 55 degrees to the equator in 6 orbits. That means each 24 divided by 6, 4. That means each orbit will have 4 satellites. Each satellite weighs about 1 ton. Each satellite weighs, and it has got a life of 7 to 8 years. Height is given there. It is at the height of 10,900 nautical miles above the center of the Earth. And it takes approximately 12 hours to complete one orbit. Number of satellites, degrees at which they incline, and number of orbits it has got. A long life, 7 to 8 years. After 7 to 8 years, they are replaced by another additional satellite, and each satellite weighs about 1 ton, and it takes about 12 hours to complete one orbit. Similarly, GLONASS has got again 24 satellites in 3 orbits, inclined at the angle of 60 degrees to the equator. Everything else remains the same except the height, which is 10,250 nautical miles. 3 orbits, 24. That means each orbit has got 8 satellites. And what we use as a model is called WGS 84. Now, this is the orbit of the GLONASS GPS, and here is the orbit of the GLONASS. Inclined at the angle of 60 degrees, and GPS at the angle of 55 degrees. Number of orbits 6, number of orbits 3. 12 hours to complete one orbit at any given time. Any questions, any doubts, any clarifications so far? Okay, now as far as the GPS is concerned, there are 2 different frequencies which we use. One is called 1575.42, which is called the L1, and 1227.6, which is called the L2. L2 is not available to commercial use at all. It's totally the secret, and the defense requirement are fulfilled by when we say the lower frequency, which is called 1227.6 megahertz, is not available to us. The only frequency available to us is 1575. Partially, 50% is available to us. 50% they use it on their own. In the UHF band, this is the only frequency available, which is called CA or coarse acquisition code, which of course I'll discuss slightly later now. As far as we are concerned, as far as usage is concerned, we can use only frequency 1575.42, partially which is known as CA code, coarse acquisition code, which we'll discuss. So like what it actually means is now, when you talk about coarse acquisition code, frequency is available. Now, if you see, go back to the principle of the satellite navigation system, you regularly transmit a radio wave from the satellite, and the same radio wave is being received by the receiver. That means there is a continuous flow. We are not transmitting in pulses. We are transmitting a continuous radio wave. A satellite transmits continuously. Aircraft will also receive the wave in the continuous particular form. Now, if the wave is continuous, then measuring the time becomes very, very difficult. Measuring the time, because time is of the utmost importance. Here we want to know the time difference between the transmission and the reception. As such, from the satellite, whenever a transmission takes place, this transmission is accompanied by a code which is called coarse acquisition code. Whenever a transmission takes place, it is along with a particular code. The receiver or the aircraft also have got the same codes available, which are synchronized with the aircraft. When you talk about coarse acquisition code, the satellite, whenever the transmission takes place from the satellite, you have a code which is transmitted along with the normal radio signal, which is called the coarse acquisition code. And at the receiver, at the aircraft also, we have the internal code which is available also, which is absolutely synchronized with the whatever code the transmitter, the satellite transmits. The same code is also transmitted at the receiver also. And once the receiver or the aircraft receives a particular signal with a particular code, it can easily identify which particular code we are talking about, what are the time difference between the transmission and the reception. This is called the coarse acquisition. That's why it is called coarse acquisition code, that we can find out which particular code, which particular part of the signal was released when, and what time it was received. So you can measure the time difference. This is time difference is of the utmost importance. That is the reason why we are doing that. Anybody, any questions, please? Any doubts, any questions before we move forward?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay, fine. Now we have spoken about the atomic clocks, etc., right? Now, whatever efforts we may try, and here when we talk about the satellite navigation system, even the time difference of a millisecond will make a lot of difference as far as the positioning is concerned, right? We have got the atomic clocks installed at the aircraft, and we have these atomic clocks at the satellite, and the so-called the electronic clocks at the aircraft. Whatever efforts we make as far as the synchronization is concerned, there will always be certain amount of time difference in the synchronization. Whatever we may try, whatever efforts may we try, whatever type of clocks or watches we have, there will be a minute difference as far as the time difference is concerned, which is called the clock bias. One of the errors of the whole system happens to be the clock bias, and clock bias happens to be the time difference between. But obviously, just because we have got large number of clocks and we have regular system of synchronization, the time difference is very, very, very limited. Though it is called the pseudo range, it is called the clock bias, but the range difference or the time difference being very minute because we have large number of clocks with it, and the regular synchronization with the ground station takes place. As such, there's hardly any or very limited time differences there as far as the position of the aircraft is concerned. As such, we don't go wrong much as far as the satellite positioning is concerned. Now, if you look at the screen now, this GPS satellite transmission includes the following. Now, it is when we talk about the satellite transmission, when the satellite is transmitting a radio energy, along with the radio energy, the following information is also being transmitted. Precise time of the transmission, satellite orbit position, atmospheric propagation data, navigation CA code, satellite clock information, etc., etc. That means, as far as the system is concerned, the position or the broadcast from the satellite, along with the radio transmission, is these following aspects are also transmitted. Please note that this transmission takes 12.5 minutes. This whole transmission of all the information will take 12.5 minutes. So second time when the transmission takes place, the radio wave is being transmitted continuously. And this information is transmitted. And the accuracy of the system is, actual accuracy of the system is 30 meters. Actual accuracy of the system, GPS, is 30 meters, intentionally downgraded to 100 meters. I repeat, the system inaccuracy is about 30 meters, but it is downgraded initially to 30 meters. Now, think and give me the answer to this particular question. Why? What is the reason of you having the accuracy of 30, but you have intentionally downgraded it to 100? This is especially the GPS we are talking about. Not staying for beer?
No. Tomorrow I'll be the distributor.
कल वो नहीं, एक मिनट सर, एक मिनट, उसका वो नहीं है ना, प्लीज 1 minute. नहीं, एक मिनट सर, प्लीज. नहीं, देखिए सर, प्लीज. 37 रुपीज का था वो, आपने 50 मिनट बोलिए, तो एक बोर्ड लेना, उसको बैग देना है.
Yes.
KG is out of the orbit.
Yeah. This is Harry's.
This is Harry Gudina. Is Terry coming for a drink?
No.
You mentioned that he might come. Okay, sir. Yeah, sorry. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Sorry, I went out for about 5 minutes. Somebody came.
No.
Okay, now this is as far as the broadcast is concerned, and this takes approximately 12.5 minutes. I asked you a question regarding the intentional downgradation of the accuracy of the system. The system in accuracy is 30 meters, but the GPS or the American system, they have downgraded intentionally to 100 meters. I would like to know why. And how does this actually help anybody if you have intentionally downgraded the system to?
Sir, can you repeat the question?
I beg your pardon?
Sorry, sir, can you repeat the question again?
Yeah. My question. See, I said the accuracy of the system. The actual accuracy of the system is 30 meters. It is intentionally downgraded to 100 meters by various applications, which we'll discuss slightly later. My question is, how does this system, if the system accuracy happens to be 30 meters and you have intentionally downgraded it to 100 meters, how does this help? What is the reason? Why have you downgraded it to 100 meters? Come on, anybody in the class? Ladies, I want a bit of talking from you also, please. What is the reason? What is the purpose of downgradation of this to 100 meters? Okay, anybody know? No answer?
No idea, sir.
No idea. Okay. Actually, I also have no idea. But I just wanted to, how does it help in initially? So if you have a system in accuracy, they don't want see the enemy or the other countries to know how reliable their satellite system is. So they say, okay, we are not very accurate, we are not very correct, and our inaccuracy is 100 meters. If you had kept this as a secret, that 30 meters is the system accuracy, but we have downgraded it to 100, this is not correct. I mean, if you had kept it a secret, then it makes sense. But if you are openly stating that your system inaccuracy is 30 meters and you have intentionally downgraded to 100 meters, does not make much sense actually. I don't know how far. Anyway, that's the right. This is the.
So actually, what's the significance that we know the accuracy of the satellite?
The actual accuracy of the system is 30 meters, but we have intentionally downgraded it by various other applications, by other means, to 100 meters. My question to the class is, how does this help anybody, either the Americans or maybe the enemy country? How does it help anybody?
For safety purpose.
I don't know. I cannot decipher what could be the logical reasoning behind this? Anyway, this is what it is. Now, when we talk about the accuracy, what we have to understand is the accuracy of the system is plus minus 100 meters. And obviously, there are various errors. We spoke about the clock bias. Clock bias is the time difference. Once you can't possibly synchronize it 100% accurately, as such, the even minute difference in the timing of the watches fitted at the aircraft and the satellite will have a slight amount of time difference. As such, in case the error is very minimal, as such, does not require much attention. Other is called satellite clock error. As I said, if the synchronization is not correct, though you have the so-called atomic clock fitted at the aircraft, but still minor differences will be there. And the maximum inaccuracy it can cause is 0.5 meters in range. Satellite ephemeris error is again related to the path followed. Ephemeris is the path followed by the satellite in the space. Now, as per your calculations, as per those particular laws, if you apply, the satellite should be at a particular location at a particular time. If the satellite is precisely not at that particular position, your calculations obviously will not be very accurate. Maximum inaccuracy again is 0.5 meters. The maximum inaccuracy in the satellite navigation is called the atmospheric error or atmospheric propagation error. Because the radio waves have to travel from the satellite to the aircraft, which obviously covers large number of distance. Many nautical miles is the distance. Now, obviously, during this particular travel of the electromagnetic wave, it will come across various phases, various conditions of the atmosphere. The density or the temperature differences will be there. As such, this will not be an accurate straight line from the satellite to the aircraft, but there will be slight bending or refraction of the radio waves. Maximum error which can be caused by so-called atmospheric error is 4 meters. That means as far as the satellite, as far as the error of the system is concerned, the maximum inaccuracy is caused by what we term as the atmospheric error, which is called 4 meters. Then you have the instrument receiver error or satellite geometry error. Satellite geometry error is basically is when you talk about the positioning of the satellite. If now, as I said, you should have minimum 4 satellites in view with good geometry. That means the spacing should be reasonably okay. But if the satellites are too close to each other, this is called the satellite geometry error. That means obviously, in case you might have learned in the so-called navigation that the interception of the 2 position lines should not be less than 30 degrees. It should be always be more. If the degrees are less than 30 degrees, which is called what you term as the satellite geometry error. Now, I also spoke about intentional downgrading of the inaccuracy from 30 meters to 100 meters. There are 2 ways. This is called coarse acquisition or selective availability. How you do that, how you reduce or intentionally downgrade the accuracy from 30 to 100. There are 2 processes. One is called the ditcher. By ditcher means you change the clock time is intentionally to change the timing of the clock. As such, obviously, there will be an error. And the other process or procedure is called the epsilon, where the position of the satellite is automatically changed, intentionally changed to give you inaccuracy of slightly more, of say from 30 to 100 meters. So there are two, this is called coarse acquisition or selective availability. It's totally dependent on two aspects. One is called the ditcher, the other is called the epsilon. Ditcher means changing the timing of transmission and reception, and epsilon means changing the position of the satellite by, both are done intentionally to initially downgrade as far as the position is concerned. Any questions, any doubts, any queries as far as the satellite navigation system is concerned? There are various types of satellites available, receivers available, multi-channel, continuous wave, integrated system, etc., etc. Nowadays, obviously, we are following something known as the multi-channel system available, where large number of channels are available, and you can use. You don't have to shift the position, right? What you have to understand is what we term as receiver autonomous integrity monitoring. It is called RAM in short, RAM. This system is available at the aircraft only. This system, RAM functioning, is available at the receiver only, and it warns the user that something is wrong, but cannot correct. Receiver autonomous integrity monitoring system, RAM functioning at the receiver, it can identify that the position reporting or something is wrong as far as the information of GPS information is concerned, but cannot correct for it. This RAM functioning requires minimum 6 satellites at any given time. This system requires minimum 6 satellites at any given time. 4 satellites are obviously to, to fix the position of the aircraft. The 5th satellite is to identify the faulty satellite. Among the 4, obviously, one of the satellites is not giving you the correct information. As such, it is the job of the 5th satellite to find out that one of the satellite is giving you incorrect information, and the job of the 6th satellite is to remove that satellite from the orbit. Or to remove the satellite from that particular navigation system. RAM functioning available at the receiver just informs the user that something is wrong, but cannot correct for it. Requires minimum 6 satellites. 4 satellites are meant for position of the aircraft. The 5th satellite it finds out the position of the satellite, or which of these 4 satellites is giving you a faulty information. And the job of the 6th satellite is to remove that satellite from the system for the time being. RAM functioning can also be carried out with the help of 5 satellites. RAM functioning can also be carried out with the help of 5 satellites, provided height information is provided by any other means. RAM functioning, normally 6 satellites. 5 satellites can also carry out the functioning, provided the height information is made available by any other means. And all height information is the pressure, altitude, etc., etc., etc. Any questions so far?
No, sir.
Okay, then I think that's all. Remaining, I'll try and cover in the next class. And we will do the question. I would suggest that people carry out the question answers of this particular chapter also. And I'll do the remaining portion in my next class. This is basically the portion which I have not covered yet is basically to do with the other groups which are included in the satellite system, which give you how to correct, how are the positions corrected with the help of other satellites. If you have any questions, you are most welcome. Otherwise, I think you can go for a break now, and we'll be discussing this GPS in my next class.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Stay
Thank
good,
you,
stay
sir.
well, stay well. Look after yourself. Take care.
Thank you, sir. Take care, sir.
Okay.